I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction. Here with the cattle market summary for the week ending October the 16th, where we really hit a nice kind of a flatter spot after all this volatility that's happened in the wake of the big wreck that's come back, and then which was a major correction, and then the correction from the correction, and this up and down yo-yo roller coaster ride we've been on. It was just kind of nice to see a week where things kind of went more sideways than they did anything else. You're seeing me cattle futures, live cattle for October on Friday was up the $3 limit and closed at 135.95, which is a lot better than where we'd been selling cattle the last couple of weeks. But really for the week it was only up 445, and that's fairly level from what we've been seeing for a while. If you look out front for a while, all your contracts are over $1.40 going through April of next year. So that's some good support that we have out there. Feeder cattle futures for October were up 402 on Friday. And see, we're not seeing that big profit taken or anything from the traders in Chicago now. This board just has a lot more support to it, and I think there's a lot more trade happening in there. And it's just something good to see that gives us a little more confidence going forward. But up 402 on Friday, closed at 193.80, getting back up there close to $2. That's based on a 750-pound steer. But even though it was up 402 on Friday, it was only up 405 for the week. So we had some little nice ups and downs, some rolling hills through there. But that is really what we need, even though a lot of people would like for this thing to springboard back up to where it was before we had the big correction. But then we'd just be in for another one. So why go through that? But you look out front on your feeder cattle futures, spring contracts are going in like April and on from there are all below 180. So we know we've got a lot more correcting to do to get back in line with that whenever we get through into the new year and for next spring. But your fat cattle this week jumped up there big again. We saw huge gains in the fat cattle last week on a cash basis. This week we saw it again. Your Southern Plains sales were $9 higher at 136. Northern Plains from $9 to $10 higher on a live basis from 136 to 137. And then we saw some dress sales this past week here at 205, where we really didn't see hardly any dress sales the previous week after the gains. But 205, that's like $15 higher than the last ones we've seen. And so now we see dress steers worth 205 hanging on the rail. Box beef cutout values for choice are at 211.69. That's really a nice gap right there. That's a nice place to see it. Now our corn and bean harvest is about half over. We're about half done planting winter wheat in the Southern Plains. So it's kind of a nice place to be around here. Your CME feeder cattle index is at 188.01. It's been steadily rising. It's still a little bit behind what your board closed out on Friday there. Real-time index on Cattle Market Central is at 189.42. Of course, it's always a little more current because we get the latest day's sales, so we've got all of Friday and any Saturday business in there. But the best thing that's really helped this recovery here is our slaughter levels have risen back up there. We've got retailers coming back into the market. They're starting to move some product now. We got prices a little more moderated there where your packers could get in, and the beef a little more moderate there. And even though it's gained quite a bit of ground here since we've seen the rise in the last couple of weeks. But this past week through Saturday, 576,000 head, which was more than last week. The previous week was 557,000, but we had a plant or two that was closed for repairs and cleaning and things like that. But the big thing is we were 12,000 more than a year ago, and not because of being off kilter with a holiday or anything, but just a straight 12,000 more than a year ago this time, which is a real confidence booster and getting these cattle cleaned up a little bit. Even though the latest actual slaughter data showed that our dress steer weights were back up a little bit for that first week moving into October, but we still think we've moved through most of those big heavy cattle. We had a lot of contracts of live cattle that were tendered for delivery over the last 10 days or so. We have had several of those come to fruit, but they were all on a carcass basis, so those cattle are gone. The ones they have delivered, it's not like they did a live cattle delivery where they put those cattle back on feed and they show back up on the market, so that's good. Are we out of the woods yet? A lot of us don't think so. You know, this moderation, this flat spot we're hitting right here is really nice, but this market's still probably high for the whole scheme of things here, and we know that our feeder cattle are going to drop off after we get into the new year, or we're pretty sure that from what your futures show. But there's no doubt in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years and beyond, commercial cattle are going to be moving a little bit lower. Are we out of the woods for this last wreck? Maybe for a while here. We expect prices to continue pretty good on your feeder cattle. This past week, feeders sold $5 to $10 higher. Calves were $10 to $20 higher, and they did gain some ground in the southeast. Southeastern calves were $5 to $10 higher. Didn't see the huge gains that we saw in the plains, but still those orders are picking up for southeastern calves as they're starting to get ready to think about turning cattle on wheat, and they'll be buying some of those calves. But are we out of the woods? We'll have to see how we get into this calf run. We've got a world of calves to sell, and probably a lot of the gains that we would normally see this coming week are going to be tempered quite a bit because our receipts are definitely going to be a lot higher. There's been a lot of your sellers been sitting on the side of the road watching this wreck go on, and now they've seen some recovery and they think this is better than what I thought it was going to be, and let's go ahead and sell these calves, even some of them that maybe would have already sold them a couple of weeks ago. But we expect heavy receipts this coming week, and if the market stays with some support and stays near steady, we expect to see heavy receipts for the next several weeks, just over and over. Latest sales on Cattle Market Central, you look at some real-time information there. South Coffeyville, Oklahoma, on Friday evening, they sold a big string of heavy steers, 112 steers weighing 813 at $193.60, which is right in there on the market. Lexington, Nebraska sold a big load of heavy calves weighing 607 on Friday at $221.75. On Monday morning, mid-morning at Joplin Regional Stockyards, they're expecting a good run of cattle, about 5,000 head, but at mid-morning they're going to be having a fundraiser for Ray McDowell, which is a cattleman that lives in southwest Missouri. And a lot of you may know Ray McDowell or have done business with him, maybe just over the phone. He's been an order buyer. He's been a backgrounder for a lot of years, runs a lot of yearlings. He and his family live there just back west of Springfield a ways. That he's really going through it, had a massive heart attack and is awaiting a heart transplant. So we asked for prayers, and going to be having a fundraiser for Ray McDowell. And as always, you can watch those regular auctions at Joplin Regional Stockyards on DV Auction. And that wraps up your summary for this week. Talk to you on Tuesday.